We will call to order the meeting, November 17 meeting of the Economic Development Authority for the City of Lynchburg. First up, let's do a roll call. Patricia Mosby.
Here.
Kimberly Sorensen.
Here.
Georgianne Sneed.
Here.
John Stone. Here. Richard Tugman. Richard is absent. Sackett Wood.
Here.
Very good, thank you. Next up would be approval of minutes for the October 27 meeting. I guess it's worth noting that there was one addition to the minutes yesterday maybe, so if you looked at them earlier in the week, towards the end, we added in that after we returned from closed session, there was a unanimous vote to authorize Marjad as director of the office to negotiate real property matters on behalf of the authority. So just making sure everyone saw that. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or addendums to the minute? Could I have a motion to approve them?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Number 3 on the agenda would be a staff report.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. A lot going on here, as you might imagine. So I've got quite a few things here that are not necessarily on the staff report. But first of all, I want to ask, is everybody able to use Dropbox? You know, you having any issues? Can you go to Dropbox and can you look at things and all of that, right? Because we had people.
I had to upgrade because it stopped, so I had to start paying for it. Which is fine, it's not a lot of money, but it wouldn't load anything, I don't know what.
Yeah, mine is saying it's full.
What?
Yeah.
I've got to upgrade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it just made me find, when I paid, it started acting better, it just wanted me to pay.
Okay. We probably need to look at that, right? Because what I want to have happen here is, I send you all a hard copy, a PDF copy, because people had problems with it, right? But that is, I send the agenda and everything to Winter and Greg and all those people, and it's like, the Dropbox needs to work, right? I don't need to be, showing him that we're remedial. So, whatever we need to do with the Dropbox to update that to make sure, because we send you a pile of stuff. There's all kinds of plans and everything in there, so we will really work towards making sure that you don't have to pay for it, but that we have it and we know that what we've given you to be able to use is sufficient for the things that we're putting in there. So if we had a change like we did yesterday, I'm gonna go in there and update your Dropbox for the meeting so that when you come in here, I know you're trying to be prepared, but should I have had something at the last minute or you wanna go back and look at it, it'll be in that Dropbox, right? So we will make a note and look at that to make sure, because I can't imagine.
It's two issues. It's over time, Dropbox has limited the amount of information that it will allow you to have
To make a buck.
Right, and that's happened over time since we've been using it.
Yeah.
So it will be either that we all do paid subscriptions to Dropbox and everybody has that, or we reduce the amount of material in your Dropbox, which I don't necessarily want to do because I want you to be able to go and see all the committees and the handbook and all the performance agreements and everything when you want to.
We tried to clean it out.
So it may be that we just do paid subscribs for everyone, but we'll take a look at it.
And we'll check with community development.
I know.
Because that the planning commission, I believe, has iPads as well. And if you think about putting a lot of stuff in there, theirs would be unbelievable. They're the only person I could think could come even close to what you get. So we'll look into that. Just want to say that for everybody. If anything changes for you all, you want us to use another email address, you have an assistant where you want to make sure things are going or any of that, just let us know, right? Let Clayton and I know. So our budgets are due on December the 5th. I will be requesting additional staff. So we will see how that goes. Once again, I just want to remind everybody that Anna is serving in 2 roles. So she is the acting director of communications and public engagement for the city, as well as my right arm. So it is a very hectic time right now in our world. So if something doesn't get turned around as fast as I'm asking for your patience during this time. We are going to host a quarterly tourism stakeholder gathering on December the 15th at the Water Dog. And what I'll say to you all is, the last council work session, we get up and talk, and I get up and talk about special events going on in the city, because under our offices, economic development, tourism, museums, and special events. All those things where you fully staff really make a lot of sense, because they're all about driving revenue, not just tax revenue, but revenue throughout the city. One of the big things, if you look at the city's budget and the amount of taxes, is the fact that amusement, lodging, and meals and sales taxes are a lot more than machinery and tools and some of those, right? So I think a healthy economy is a balance of the, tourism, hospitality, that side of the house, as well as your manufacturers or the colleges and universities or the healthcare system and all of those things. So, we will make sure that both sides of that house, right, the tourism side of the house or the destination marketing side of the house is what it really is. We're trying to market the city to the outside world, businesses, our own residents, to the talent that's out there, and to business attraction and retention here. So to give you all some idea of some of that, because being advocates for that side of the house, what I felt is that Councilman Helgeson said to me, I need you focused on jobs, not special events. Well, they're not mutually, I am definitely focused on jobs, but the hospitality, the tourism that's driven here by the colleges, it's very different, right? It's driven by the colleges and the businesses and Centra. And it is a very big part of the economy here. It is a very big part of quality of life for the businesses and those folks here. That's what the business community asked us to do when we did the reset for the pandemic, is they really care about the quality of life here in order to attract and retain talent. And it's what's going to get a business to look at you. So I don't know, I think a lot of times in municipalities, people just think that the tourism side of the house just happens. It's just there. It's not. It's a lot of work. And I will tell you that the work that has been done in this office over the last 18 months is game-changing from anything that's ever been done by anybody that represented when it was at the chamber. None of that has been done to the level and the quality. I'm not throwing stones. They may not have had, they had a lot more resources than I did. But these are the things that need to be done. So I just want EDA members to be very aware that as it goes across the board, to me, tourism is the most dynamic form of economic development. It is, it is something that drives revenue that helps lower costs within the city. So when I tell you about the stakeholder event that's going to be happening or any of those types of things, that's why I'm doing it. I want you to be fully aware of all of that. So this week we we had another Go Virginia interview. So first we went up to the Region 2 board. The state is divided into regions, and the Region 2 board, we made a presentation for the Airport Commerce Park. City owns a large piece of property that is located in Campbell County, right outside of the fence of the airport. And it has been languishing, you know, as a parcel that's out there undeveloped for a very long time. None of our parcels are easy to develop, nor are they not expensive. But at least to get the ball rolling, we applied to Go Virginia for due diligence to be done so we could get a grip on what the cost would be to develop that. So we went to the second round this week with an interview at the state level. And I think that went really, really well. So I'm very hopeful that they will be recommending funding for us for the Airport Commerce Park. We had a master plan done for that park, working closely in real regional cooperation with Campbell County and Andrew Legala at the airport. More than likely, these grants, we'll see. I need to talk to Andrew because the FAA, you can imagine, has a plan for everything that goes on out there. They give millions of dollars of grants to the airport, and my goal would be that the Commerce Park would really be run by the airport. The commissioners are at the airport with us doing prospecting and helping and doing all that type of thing. We'll have a revenue sharing agreement with Campbell County, but looking at where that grant will be housed, I'm going to talk to Andrew about it. But if it's not housed with him at the airport, it may be housed with the EDA. Just much easier to appropriate funds and manage all of that when it comes through the Economic Development Authority. But the jury's still out on that, but that's a really big deal. So if anybody asks you what we're doing on the business attraction side, we're dancing as fast as we can to create sites so that we can market them. We've had a discussion, especially after your last closed session item last month. I would probably like to do like a property committee retreat and have, a couple of hours spent with Rick Reed, but just looking at all of the sites that we have, all of the things that are out there, and making recommendations for what the EDA might look at in terms of purchasing property, selling property, any and all of the above. And so I will be getting with you to try to get that meeting, on the calendar as quickly as possible. I have once again reached out the plant manager at Master Brands. They ceased, production in October, but the plant manager will be there until June of '23, and he's been fantastic in working with me, and so we will go out there, tour the building, because all of these things seem like a good idea until you go out there and see what actually, how's the building laid out.
So they want to sell them all.
Yeah, they will eventually sell the building, I think, but they're not ready to talk about any of that yet. But I want to make sure that, we look at, I've already started to market that building. We had prospects interested in that building the day that the announcement was made, right? So I need to be able to know, what I'm working, and they have a real estate firm that they deal with there, and that person I've reached out to, and we have a great relationship, and he told me he'd help me in any way he could if I get a prospect. I want to see the building myself. I want to go back through the building myself.
Junior gift brands, are they going to sell their building as well?
No, That building belongs to the Colemans, Cliff and David, and they'll market it to lease it, I feel sure.
It was leased.
So they were renting it, correct?
Yeah. So that brings up a good point. We have done responses to council on everything that we're doing in our office, both on master brands and Newell brands. And I put the Newell brand memo that went out to council from winter, which came out of our office, in your Dropbox for this meeting today. Because I want you all prepared, you know, to feel comfortable with anything that council gets, you get, because you support our efforts. From the meetings that the council meetings that have been had, and to keep them aware of what we are doing, we are preparing, well, Clayton and Alicia and Anna and I are working on looking at, you know, the economy period, looking at jobs, looking at growth sectors, looking at all of those things and putting together a report. And we are looking at January to present that when the new council comes on, and that'll probably be a joint meeting between the EDA members and council. So as soon as Winter lets me know which meeting that is, so it will be not unlike when they meet with when they have a joint meeting with the school board or anything like that. So moving forward under Winter's direction, you know, I think developing a closer relationship or some kind of consistent relationship with council to know the work of the EDA, and you know, that type of thing is going to be the direction that we move in. I was going to bring the new deputy city manager, Greg Patrick, down to meet you all, but he had a conflict, so I'm going to try to grab him at some point to come down and introduce you, and he's a great resource and a great hire for the city. December the 6th, we have also applied for Ivy Creek Innovation Park. We've applied for Virginia Business Ready Sites Program grant to do due diligence over there as well. We've made it to the finals there, and that they are going to do a full-on site visit. So we have to act like they're the prospect. And that's going to be on December the 6th, I found out this morning at 6 o'clock. And so I will probably ask those of you that can, you know, to be in attendance from a support, you know, perspective. So I've got their email to me this morning is still really confusing as to where they want us and how and when that would be most appropriate, but they will physically go out to the site. And we've already done a virtual presentation with them. We would just hone that and address it. But it's on December 6th, so if you don't have anything on your calendar there, if you could put it down, and I promise not to take up any more of your time than your role would be there to be support, you know, to show support.
Do you know the time? Do we know the time for December 15th event?
Yeah, that's after work.
After hours, 5.
Yeah. So they are, the one thing they have told me is that they're coming to, you know, the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, and I think there's more than one application, more than one municipality has an application in for this program. So there's Amherst and me. And so they've given us 30 minutes at 9 o'clock around that time on the 6th. I just don't know what the rest of the day looks like. So if you want to put down the 9 o'clock one where you're just there to show support, I just don't know what they say in the afternoon they'll do the site visit, right? But for those of you who have never been to our sites or never been, you know, to the industrial park or something, it may be I've found both of these applications, while incredibly nerve-wracking, especially given where we are right now from a staffing perspective, to be really, eye-opening, because we've had so few prospects over the years, that you got to this point in the beauty pageant that, going through this whole thing and being, and explaining it and doing all those things is it's been an incredible exercise for, especially since we have almost all new staff, right, to help us put things together and figure all that out. So I think it would be a really eye-opening experience, for you all as well. So December 6th, just got the thing. I will figure out from them. They haven't given me a time. I don't know how they're going to do this. It would appear to me that they're coming for the day, and that you do this in the morning, and then in the afternoon they're going to go and look at the sites, and the sites are on opposite ends of the, Amherst County, and then out near that, right at the line there. So I will send you all of that. The RFP for real estate services for the city, which would, also work hopefully for the ADA, have gone out, and I believe that they closed yesterday. I had thought it was the 10th. I don't know why I did, but anyway, so we will be interviewing, finding out how many proposals we received, and interviewing or moving forward with that process as quickly as possible. And then out at the corner of Dillard Drive and Enterprise Drive, there's a large piece of property there on the corner that has been there and been empty for a very, very, very long time. That property was sold, I believe, in 2019 to a young man who was going to put apartments there. There are 3 parcels. He was going to put the apartments, I believe, on the backside, like closer to the. Is it still Piedmont Flooring?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to put that on the backside, and then he has a fitness center. He has Kinetic Gym. He was going to put a large gym, multi-purpose kind of gym there, private sector driven, there as well. So he had to come in and get the property rezoned, and in doing that, right, he did outreach to the business community that is around there. But I will just say to you that outreach on some of these types of things doesn't always get to the right person. Even though they put signs up and they do all of that, if you're trying to run a manufacturing plant, you may not be paying attention to all that. Very, very easily understood. So when that came up for rezoning, it was rezoning to like a B4 or B6, something like that, because there was going to be a commercial component. But there was a CUP, a conditional use permit, put on the apartment side of it. I was told by the community development and the folks then that they didn't have any opposition from the business community, from the manufacturers around there. And, I hate to have somebody be hamstrung with a piece of property, right? Like if they have a piece of property and they want the ability to sell it, if no industrial tenants want the property, then you hate to be hamstrung not to be able to sell it to someone else. So that the sale went through, the CUP went through, and the changing of the zoning from industrial to B4, B6, whatever it was, happened. In my business visits after that, the Asdale and J. Crew and lots of folks there said we really didn't realize what was happening there. And therefore we wouldn't necessarily have, we know we didn't come to the meetings, but we didn't really, understand. And they are not opposed to any kind of commercial, business being in there. It's just whenever you mix residence with manufacturing, it's just, a recipe for issues. Anyway, so someone else has come in, that project didn't go through, and the CUP has expired. So someone else has come in and, yes, so it has to come back to council in December, and it's now not for 116 departments, it's for 300.
Does the zoning request, the zoning committee consider the fact that there's very few properties available in the city?
Yeah,
I mean,
they
is
do,
that
they do consider that, but they don't consider it like you all would consider, that. So the planning commission, I didn't find out about this, that, until late, but I spoke with, J. Crew reached out to me, and I spoke with J. Crew and Asdale, and they are both opposed. So it's one of those things where it's nothing against the developer. It's just, it was an industrial area, and the J. Crew and Asdale have been there for a very long time. And the developer has done traffic studies. The developer, once he found out that, I was not, as the Office of Economic Development, I was not going to be supportive. Not that, a lot of times they don't even ask, but I was not going to be supportive. Reached out to all of the businesses, and I connected them directly so that they would talk to the person at each one of the businesses, right? And I've since followed up with them, and they are not critical of the due diligence that's been done from a traffic, perspective, because as best you can see it on paper, they've tried to resolve, they're trying to make the road better and all of that, but at the end of the day, the businesses are not supportive just because of what could be when you get that many residential housing next to manufacturing. So the Office of Economic Development, I spoke in opposition at the Planning Commission meeting. J. Crew was here. They spoke in opposition, but the Planning Commission voted for it. And so it will go to council on December the 13th. And I will again I've followed up with Asdale and J. Crew, and I will again be speaking in opposition. So just wanted to give the EDA the ability to say, we don't necessarily want to weigh in on this, or you do, but I will be during the, when the public hearing asks, both Asdale and J. Crew, I feel certain will be here to speak. I'm just kind of springing it on you, right? I can give you all the information on it, because it's really not like I have no beef that the developers haven't done everything, that they can, but I'm just, there's no, this is almost 1,000 jobs. I'm not.
I'm somewhat surprised that people are or that developers are still so eager to build
Apartments.
apartments.
It's unreal. It is absolutely unreal. Now, it is really unreal. Because when they do them, the demand is still there. I don't know if you saw, but I can't remember. Clayton sent it to me. The Timberlake development that went on out there just got sold for like $69 million.
Isn't that thing on Down the street from us, gonna be apartments too? At the weddings, behind the wedding place?
Yes.
What's that called? Rosedale.
Yep.
The
So,
regular-
I'm bringing it up because I want you to know the position that I'm taking, and if you all would like to take a position, or, there's, I can put the whole project in there, but I'm telling you, my rationale is not because I don't believe they've done due diligence for the traffic and all of that. I just believe when you mix, manufacturing and with residents, the residents have a right to be at home and all of the, enjoy all of the things that any of us would want. You wouldn't necessarily in your backyard. These things have already been there. Dillard Drive was a industrial area.
Now, those apartments, are they, I guess, would be categorized as like affordable housing or?
Everybody that comes forward calls their apartments affordable.
Yeah.
And they do that because they're hoping you don't look up what that means,
Doesn't necessarily
right? Meaning,
Mhm.
in Lynchburg, affordable, in Detroit would be Section 8.
Mhm.
Meaning the price points,
Mhm.
right? It's not about the quality of the apartments. It is about the, and they would call it workforce housing, but they got up and said, most places that we go to do these, the manufacturers are really happy because they're looking for housing for their people, and then the next breath they say, we're looking for white collar professionals, and I'm like, they don't work on the line at Asdale.
Well, is there also the question, let's say this is being built, who wants to live there? And the apartments next to a manufacturing plant, who would it attract?
Yeah, it would probably be, I think they're all betting on students. I mean, that's what's driving everything, right? But I also think that, Lynchburg does have, and everywhere right now, people having a hard time finding houses, paying for houses,
Mhm.
doing all that. So
Sure.
I'm not saying we don't have shortages in areas and different things like that, but we also, to your point, with Saxon Point, we don't have that many places left, and you can't always, those two things don't work together. So once again, hope, nothing against the developer. Tom Bell.
So the first guy sold it to somebody else.
He's in the process. They probably have a contingency. If they can get the CUP, they'll do it. If they can't get the CUP. And as everybody's told me that from all of the places, if you want to do commercial, anything commercial, they don't have any issue with that. It's just when you mix the residents there, like Asdale has actually, they're right on the line in Bedford County, and they've actually purchased a piece of property that is a buffer, for them, and they have apartment complexes or neighbors that back up to them, but they bought that property so that they have somewhat of a buffer there.
Does the planning commission do anything, just elicit feedback on the front end, or it's just a zoning sign put up?
Yeah, they hold public hearings, right? But the truth is like if I were to ask any of you all the stuff you get coming across your desk every day, like for me, it really brought home the fact that,
I'm understanding how proactive you are.
no. I think they take what they get, public notice, and they get those things, but it's really incumbent upon, I would say, just like with you all, it's really incumbent upon city staff, right, to look into and try to, if they can, which, is part of the staffing issue, is to go the extra mile.
It's interesting that there's the comprehensive plan doesn't have the zoning, these decisions weigh, that your goals
was in.
Yeah, they do. The comprehensive plan, has in there, and that's always the things that the planning commission looks for, right? Is this a completely separate, issue? I mean, is this a completely separate use? Or they do try to look at all of those things, right? But we're a very old city, and the comprehensive plan is getting ready to be updated, as we speak, and things change. And so when the developer does all the things on the outside that they need for them to do, they really have an expectation of the business community that if you don't want that, to happen, then you voice your opinion, right? But they still can it wasn't a unanimous vote from the planning commission.
It was not.
But it's still passed, so. I think they also know that they do their job right, and many times, whatever they've said, when it goes to council, it gets changed anyway. So that's all part of, these are all things that I believe that Winter is really actively trying to make sure that we are all on the same page. Because truly, it's about, that all the process goes exactly as it always has. It's just the difference between people paying attention and understanding that, right? So now I get all the notices for all the technical review committee. We should sit on the technical review committee and all that, but I can only be in so many places at one time. So this was I wouldn't want you all to read about it or see it or whatever. I'm definitely, and I've been very open and honest with the developer as well, that this is this is what we do.
So if we as an authority want to support the notion that that is a commercial area, and commercial tenants have been there for decades, and
Yes.
it's surrounded by commercial tenants, and we think it should remain that way, what should we do as an authority? Should we just pen a letter to the planning commission?
If it's going to public hearing to council, you can write a letter that will be read at a council meeting to the clerk.
Yeah.
You can send a letter to the clerk, or you can come and speak in opposition at the
Right.
public
Or
hearing.
I can say, when I stand up to speak, the same thing. I mean, I can say the Office of Economic Development as well as the Economic Development Authority, does not support this. Because normally in the past, and it was intermittent, but when something would happen, they would come to me. Planning, community development would come to me and say, does the EDA support this, right? And I'll give you an example of where this all goes. Your property that's over on Wigington Road, that goes all the way up to Wigington Road, that property is zoned industrial. It just ended up being that way, right? But we know that we've had it out there for sale forever. We've done all kinds of things with that property. Now, I'm not saying, we've had the biggest sign or with that we've worked really hard on any of that, but one of the reasons we did a master plan for that whole area again, I did it in 2009, I believe, and why we did it again is because we want to be able to support that if the area will not support industrial, right? Because Wigington Road's got a lot of residential on it, right? And the road's not wide enough, it's all of those things. I want to be able to have credibility when I speak to council to say, we will support the rezoning of this property to residential because of the work that we've done, right? Or if you all decided to sell it or anything. I mean, I want to make sure that we've done everything humanly possible to hold on to any commercial or industrial property that's available. But also when the road is not big enough, or there's different things out there that could cause a problem. I think the neighbors on Wigington Road, if you put a commercial, I mean, if you put a manufacturer out there, would probably have an issue with that. And the person that wanted to do it would have an issue because they would have pushback from VDOT and transportation on that. So it's doing all this due diligence, right? So from the planning commission's perspective, the developer did everything they could on a traffic side, right, to manage this. But that is not the be-all and end-all issue for the businesses. It is having that many residents in an industrial area.
Is the gym still going to
It is on some kind of, some level. But it'll be it'll be it was always gonna be, but it's a commercial, gym. It's not just providing that for the residents, it's a commercial. So just for your edification, I will put I'll put the entire project, the package for the project in your, Dropbox. But, I'll just tell you that they are trying to get, they don't have to do anything on the zoning of the B4, B6, because that already went through. But the CUP has expired. So that is what they were going to council for. And they held all the public meetings they needed to, and nobody none of the businesses attended, because they just, and the developer has gone and presented their case, facilitated by me, to each one of these people. Still not, counts of prevention. No. Oh, let me make sure. I think I got it all. Okay, good. Then I'm finished.
Is that all for the staff report?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up would be closed session, correct? Ted, will you help us out there?
Okay, someone needs to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2.23711A3 for discussion of consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting could adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the authority.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor of our motion to properly go into closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. We're in closed session.